There we go. Everything's fixed.
Back on here.
Yes, we are back on the air. I'm going to go ahead and share the stream on Facebook, so that way everything's good. Okay, so... let's see, what were we saying? Oh, yes, we were talking about... Okay, so if you're just joining us on the YouTube live stream, we were doing a Facebook live stream, but sadly, that's all that. Don't worry, we're not going to answer any more information on that one because I'm going to be posting that one up here on this. Either way, we were answering questions. One of them was talking about the uniforms of the factions. We were talking about the religious monarchies of uniformed troops, basically saying they were based off the Templar type style, not the whole freaking plate armor and all that. Good God, no, that's impractical as hell on a modern battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
But you were saying something about the about it.
About the. Sorry, which ones?
We were talking about the. You were talking about how basically a religious style military force would use a. Trying to think exactly. Would use kind of a religious style of.
Oh yeah, well,
uniform
you said
coloring.
like they were based on the southern states, Confederacy. I can see, well, I was using KKK as an example. I don't know if you want to bring them up in your lore anytime soon, but the way I had thought of.
What?
Just the phone's doing something weird. Let's go. Anyway.
Yes. Basically, we were saying, well, originally I was saying that the religious monarchies' uniforms would be white, red, and some gray accents because, that's kind of, the religious monarchies' military forces would be kind of replicating that of the Templar Knights.
Confederate uniform with the Templar Knight accents.
Yes.
Very nice style to go with.
Yeah, that would definitely be interesting to try and replicate for Airsoft, actually. Have a helmet with a white cross on it. That would just be that would just be interesting to do. But yeah.
So I wouldn't do like you're saying, not the full medieval,
Yeah.
Plate armor and like full face helmet, but I could see like maybe a stylized helmet, maybe.
What I could see is probably them reusing old uniforms. They'd probably reuse uniforms from Vietnam, like because of them being kind of a poor society and being religiously heavy. I could see them using pot helmets, maybe some flat jackets, probably old stuff, like how the kind of like how militaries back, kind of like how the Viet Cong was, how they had some old uniforms and old style of uniforms, and what have you. And now, and this is something a lot of people kind of have pointed out when I've done a couple lore streams talking about this. When Texas basically occupied Western Tennessee, Mississippi, what have you, their uniforms kind of went from them wearing a style of 40s, 50-ish type of uniform to now a more or less guerrilla style of, they just have clothes to try and blend in with the population and try and fight a guerrilla style warfare, basically.
Looking more like a resistance. Like you can't tell if you're talking to somebody who's just out having a stroll, or if you're talking to a member of the resistance.
Exactly. Which I will admit, I actually have tried to kind of say, because some people have tried asking me out there when I've played Airsoft, and they start asking me questions about the factions. They ask, well, what about the religious monarchy? Do they have any special forces? Do they have anything even to a special forces unit? My response is usually, not really. With a religious monarchy, it's more or less you're either defending the church or you're not, or you're serving the church. It's because of it being a monarchy, there's kind of a societal gap in there, or the societal division in there, really.
That makes sense. There's the crown and the population, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Population serves the crown.
Yeah, basically. And then, of course, there's which the question now coming up after this one, which is very fun. This one's gonna be hilarious. Oh, this one came from Spike actually. So Spike, hey, GV Central, hey. Which speaking of which, he did ask me to kind of give him a shout out. Guys, this stream is brought to you by Gas Blowback Central. Please do give them a look. Website and all is gasblowbackcentral.com. So yeah, go check them out. Just go check them out. Go, shoot, go. But he did kind of ask me this. Why is it we're still using ballistic weapons and not energy-based weapons? We're not really that advanced of a society, I guess you could say.
And we're not that far. This is basically taking place.
Post Y2K, basically.
Post millennium, post Y2K, and let's face it, the technology isn't there yet.
No.
We've come a long way. There's still, we have some advances as far as like railgun and Gauss cannon technology, things like that. But honestly, we are no closer now to a phaser or a blaster rifle than we were in like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some talk of, the airborne laser program at one point. That was the big thing. But honestly, looking back, I'm not sure if that wasn't just pure propaganda, because I haven't heard jack on it in years.
Yeah, we really haven't. Now, the question
They were talking about putting those planes at Dias, too.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Okay, so coming to that question, after that question, is a question about weapons! Guns! Yes!
Yes. Always good.
Okay, so the question comes, what is the weaponry, loadout, what have you, of each faction? I can only speculate that Texas would have weapons that would not only be firepower, but also rugged.
Mm-hmm. It'd probably be, just about everybody in Texas these days owns an AR or some variant or something in a 5.56.
Me, have you ever played the game Resistance Fall of Man?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of see that as being Texas's main weapon, a sort of M14 with a grenade launcher on the bottom of it, or some type of M14 with like a wooden stock, like a marksman stock, with like a thumb hold grip in it, with the ability to go full auto. But at the same time, I kind of do agree with you. They would definitely still stick with the M16, but the kind of M16 I would see them use would be a service rifle style M16, with like the wood grips and what have you, just kind of show off, hey, this is Texas, this is Texan-made weaponry, just kind of give it that nice flair of Texas bizarre.
Honestly, you do. We don't show off our guns that much. No, rifle-wise, we have a concept of what's called the barbecue gun. Basically, you go to a barbecue and you got a nice shiny, nickel-plated, ivory-handled 1911, in a nice leather holster. Basically, rifle-wise, we tend to go more towards something that's, we don't want super decorative, because we're going to use it. We hunt. We don't. If we do spend the kind of money on like a really high dollar Browning or Benelli shotgun, it's going to be a safe queen. We want something that's we're gonna go out in the brush and use it. We're gonna hog hunt. We're we're gonna dove hunt. Gun's gonna get torn up. So, you know, an old beat up Remington, nothing too flashy, something like that. I mean, like I don't know the whole wood stocks on aside from guys that still like the M14 style, you don't really see it much.
Yeah. I mean, that's just my speculation, obviously, because, that's it. Now, as for, and this is something I actually do I have actually talked with some people about. As for the support weapons guy, definitely the M60 would be Texas's main support weapon, because let's face it, the M60 is rugged, it's tough, it's been through Nam, it's been through so many wars, and it's still going.
Yeah. It's been, quotation marks, replaced, by
the Song.
Several variations of the 249, but we still use it. So explain that one. How are we using something that has been replaced?
Yeah. So for the people out there watching, if you're going to make a Texan support gunner loadout, M60 is required. It is a no and if or but it is required.
Basically, any way you can make yourself look like Adam Baldwin in Full Metal Jacket, go for it.
Yeah. Now, as for the sidearm, I do actually, and I believe you have kind of agreed with me on this one. I believe a bit. For the earlier years of Texas, for the Republic of Texas, I kind of speculated that it would be a 45 ACP style gun, kind of like the 1911 for like the grunts all the way up to sergeants. And as for the officers, from a captain and up, it would probably be a style of revolver, kind of insinuate, hey, this guy's an officer.
Mm-hmm. Maybe for your ground troops, definitely. I don't know, for anybody coming from a law enforcement background and maybe the Rangers, some of the older ones might be still holding on to their 1911, but DPS officers and stuff, they'd go with the SIGs. I could see them just saying 226 is good, but we kind of need something with some more stopping power. Maybe getting around to something 45, but something along that nature.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's definitely, for the Rangers, I would definitely see them probably have a stylized revolver that would definitely say, hey, I am a Texan Ranger, don't fuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
It'd probably be either a 357 or a 44 Magnum, probably. And there's me stroking Texas ego again. It's like, oh yeah, just keep saying that.
Yeah, I would say 357 Mag, probably.
Yeah.
As far as issue-wise, I don't think we've ever gotten a 44 Mag, but we still use 357s out where I work. Actually, I gotta qualify them on one once a year. So.
Yeah, which I actually am surprised to hear that that Texas still loves the 357.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of if you think about it, it's kind of got a good reasoning to it. It's only an outside the unit, like the prisoner transport to a hospital, that kind of stuff. Court dates, whatever. You have a guy with a revolver, escorting the prisoner.
Exactly.
Well, you have, you just need something that is gonna stop that inmate. If he tries something, if he tries to take a hostage, assault somebody, escape, you want to stop him. You're really not gonna have any need to hold off. For the most part, you're not gonna have to hold off an entire a platoon. So you have the revolver, and also you have to be careful of where your shot's going. You have to make sure the shot counts, and
yeah, and that is something
you don't want an inmate getting a hold of a weapon, and on our transport buses, they they don't use revolvers. They use M&Ps in 357 SIG. And now, in that situation, it's a transport bus full of inmates. You don't want to limit yourself. You want to have, you're not going to take any chances in that situation. If anybody, something goes wrong in a bus, you want to be able to draw your sidearm and stop it, whatever's going on right then and there.
Now, I will admit, the one thing I definitely have to say is, and this is something a lot of people don't know, Texas, as well as some southern states, are very well known for our sharpshooters. Like, no joke, Texas is, to my knowledge, the top 3 of the world's best sharpshooters. To my knowledge, I believe. I think Texas is kind of ranked in the top 3.
I think so.
Yeah, and so that does raise a question. For the Texas military, what kind of marksman and or sharpshooter weapon would you guys probably use? Would you use 30-06, 7.62, or 308? I mean, what would that kind of be?
I'd say probably use something 7.62 or 308. A 30-06 round is still viable as far as a hunting round, but militarily it's not as common military. So if you're looking for something with a magazine-fed weapon, it's going to be trouble finding something. You'd have to basically track down surplus or brand new reproduction Garands and reissue them. Whereas if you're using a 308, you can share ammo with your light machine gunner, your sniper, your DMR guy, and you can have it'll carry across multiple platforms. You have an M14 or someone that gets their hands on a G3 or a FAL, or some guy that your support gunner M60 is damaged and he's using his backup weapon. Well, pull his ammo chain out, toss it to you. You can refill your empty mags. As an advantage. So I would say, I probably M1, M14 pattern, possibly synthetic stocks, just to give it something lighter weight, something so you're moving from position to position, doesn't slow you down.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely interesting. Now, of course, comes my part. Colonial America. What would their guns be? It'd be M16s. M16s, probably maybe a 1911, probably a M249, just basic cheap stuff, or probably the best stuff money can buy, so they'd probably try and go for all those fancy schmancy guns and all that good jazz, and probably something like America during the Vietnam War, where we started slowly replacing higher power, more powerful weapons with more or less more affordable weapons for the troops, where it was more or less more firepower, more rate of fire over stopping power, what have you, more or less cost effectiveness, quantity over quality type deal, where Texas, as I said, it's more quality over quantity type deal. So, yeah. Now, as for the religious monarchy, originally in the early stages of the war, they were more or less armed with AK-47s, SKSs, basically some guns that they would buy from south of the border, basically. Some FALs actually were kind of found on those forces, so that's one. But the big one that's actually really, really, really cool, and I gotta love my friend for this. He said that you would probably find some older weapons, probably from the 50s and 40s, in the hands of some troops. Maybe even some muskets from some of the more civilian militias that were conscripted into the regular ranks. So it's literally for them a war of basically, if you got a gun, use it and fight for the church. Yeah, and that's actually a funny idea. Me and my friend had to laugh a little bit at that. The idea that, hey, there's a guy with a musket. Did this dude with a musket seriously just try taking on a regiment of Texan soldiers armed with automatic weapons, grenade launchers and fucking and rockets, and this dude had a musket.
That would be, just a great distraction tactic. I can see, just like, you seen this? Is that a black powder gun? Seriously? It's like, be like, what, should we break out our lever actions? What's going on here?
Yeah, it definitely would see a lot of there is a lot of civilian conscriptions definitely going, but at the same time, it's like, well, Texas is probably doing the same thing with the civilian populations who are wanting to fight back. So it's like, you know what? All right, we'll conscript you guys into the Texan military. It's like, boom, done. Okay, go fight these guys. But yeah, now comes a really, really interesting question, and I gotta love this. Because this one allows me to actually go full-blown alternative history nut on this one. This one comes from San Antone. Hey, my father's in the armored unit, and we were reading one of your pages, and we did not see anything about armored warfare going on in the war. Does the religious monarchy have any tanks or any form of heavy armor units, or what's going on? Because of Y2K happening and the way that particular faction is, and contrary to belief, Tennessee doesn't have a lot of, well, where I live technically, there aren't a lot of tanks. There aren't a lot of tank regiments where I live, so, I mean, mostly it's artillery, self-propelled and some artillery, but even then, back in the 90s, from what I was told, there weren't a lot of mobile armored units. Even if there were, most of the tanks would be computer driven, so even then, if the religious monarchy did have armored units, they'd probably be refurbishing old Shermans, probably some tank destroyers, maybe even some tanks that we used during the Vietnam War. Probably those old tanks, but even then, I mean, Texas obviously would have Abrams. They'd have some self-propelled guns. You guys
would have just out of, I don't know what all they have at El Paso, but down in Gatesville, Fort Hood, they've got Bradleys, Hummers, you name it. They've got it down there. I'm pretty sure they have Abrams ranges on the because I've been on the North Fort Hood, the training grounds. That was fun at Irene. We're camping like 100 yards off to the side of the tank trail. So
that's nice. But yeah, basically, there is like during the start of the war, yes, there were some armored engagements, but even then, those lasted all about 20 seconds. Just single shot from the Abrams to this old tank destroyer. Boom, done, dead. Okay, moving on. Just, yeah, no, it did not last well. Now, when it comes to artillery, once again, I gotta thank my friend for this one, because he basically said that with a type of faction like this, where they're really clamoring for anything and everything as a weapon that they can use in their ranks, he definitely said that, yes, they'd probably pull out some old cannons from the Civil War era and Spanish-American War era to use against the attacking forces.
If they could find them, maybe. I mean, you talking about like bringing out, like art, like museum pieces and things, trying to refurbish,
yeah,
things like on display. I know here in Texas, there are a couple of I think the courthouse in Brady. I think it's Brady. There's a couple of places like they've got the old disabled non-functioning cannons. Like I think they were like howitzers from World War II, and they've got them outside the courthouse, on display.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be interesting to see, because, and even my friend, I had to laugh at his dialogue that he said. It'd be like, he made a joke saying that the scenario would probably be a couple troopers stuck in a foxhole, sitting there yelling out, so what are they hitting us with? It's like, cannonballs! No, seriously, what are they hitting us with? No, seriously, they're shooting cannonballs at us!
See that? What the hell are they firing? Balls. Seriously. Stuff. You know, like crap. Cannonball just hit us in the dirt.
Which I'm not gonna lie, there are definitely some cannon projectiles that are very deadly. Like, and this is something a lot of people don't get. During the Civil War, cannon development definitely kind of was a heightened thing because you had what would definitely be the soon-to-be bullet-styled projectile that we have with an explosive charge in it. You had grape shot. You had a type of slug grape shot in there where it had a huge slug in the front and then 3 rows of ball bearing styled projectiles inside of it. So yeah, I could definitely see on the front lines the religious monarchy trying to hold out using old black powder cannons, firing on Texan positions or even on the Eastern Front positions. But even then, they probably, most of the weaponry that, if this actually was happening, and if I actually was able to give a visual representation, I wish I could. This would be an awesome movie, honestly.
Yep.
It really would. You'd be seeing a mixture of cannons from World War II to the Civil War being used on attacking troops. Either way. Let's see here. Oh, this question goes to you, Brandon.
All
right. Let's see if I can read it out plainly, because good God, my screen just went fuzzy there for a second. Okay, here we go. The question is, what kind of choppers would be used on, what would be Texas's Air Force? Would they be using, old-style planes before Y2K, or would they be using somewhat modern planes and choppers?
They'd definitely be using choppers right off the bat because there's Fort Hood's there's an airborne unit at Fort Hood. Anyway, yeah, we got access to Blackhawks, so pretty much anything that was in use up to the turn of the century, becomes eligible for frontline duty here. So yeah, we'd be using the Blackhawks and any mothballed Hueys or Huey.
Probably some Hueys.
Yeah, if there's anything else like they could still be pulled out of the boneyard and made to fly again. On our coast-wise, Navy-wise, maybe some Sea Kings. Maybe I don't know what all they had down at Ingleside. But they had a naval air station down on the coast. I think they still do. Actually. So we could maybe even have access to definitely some Apaches, possibly some Cobras.
Yeah, I could definitely see a lot of chopper use on the western and southern fronts because, let's face it, while yes, jets would definitely be a nice use, I even had to ask my friend this: would a religious style monarchy even use an air force? He said promptly no, because in reality, not a lot of pilots, and they'd probably be lost as soon as they get off the ground. But yeah, as for the jets, I could definitely see mostly bombers and probably escort planes, probably being used for probably urban environments for like missile strike, for like precise strikes and things like that. But as for actual frontline use, definitely choppers. I could definitely see Blackhawks and Hueys, a lot of Cobra usage, especially Apache usage. I could definitely see heavy of, simply because of how thick the woods are and how much would have to be used.
And you got like something in an urban environment, aerial combat's going to be gonna be a crapshoot. You can't fly, a F-22 through, through the skyscrapers of Houston, effectively while dogfighting. You've got to basically, go above the city you know, to to maneuver, or you're gonna just plow through a building. Meanwhile, with a helicopter, you can go down, get, move a little slower, and wave in and out of structures, and use the buildings to your advantage. If it's an abandoned skyscraper becomes a shield, you can duck behind it and lose an RPG. And of course, for mass movements, mass aerial movements, yeah, C-130s, we definitely use them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and
There would be several like massive airdrop campaigns.
oh yeah, and I could definitely see a lot of fire missions being called upon with the AC-130s. Uh,
Mhm.
well, the AC-130 gunships, I should say, especially
I
some.
would I could see definitely more of those being implemented that actually come in, because I think right now we've only, strangely enough, I think I heard somewhere or read somewhere that we only have like we have less than 5. Like I think there's like 3 of them in use right now. But honestly, I can see that that you know maybe some ground crew saying we don't have enough close air support. You know, hey, is that tank damaged? Well, the gun works, but we can't move the treads, or the engine's shot. But we just need the gun. I
oh
could
yeah,
definitely see that.
oh yeah, most definitely. Now the big one I will say, a good example of this would have to be, and I know this is probably the best historical example people use when they're talking about aerial or even chopper usage. The Vietnam War is a good example of choppers being used to a very extent.
Mhm.
And in the most literal sense, if we were in this world right now, me and you, and we were in Selmer, Tennessee, we'd see nothing but waves upon waves and massive fleets of just Hueys, Blackhawks, Cobras, Apaches, what have you, just flying in daily, day in, day out, basically.
Here locally, it's here. It's just constant day in day out. Jets fly out. You'll hear a low rumble, and that's a C-130. You hear a massive wall shaking roar. That's a B-1 heading out.
Yep. oh yeah. One friend. Okay, so this one comes from Stevens. Uh, what would the daily life of a frontline soldier be, either Texan or colonial America? But I would love to know more about Texan. Oh my God, I just go to any of our games, go to any of our airsoft games. You'll hear some funny chatter. Uh, knowing Brandon here, if this actually was a world we were in, I could see Brandon probably be stationed at one of the bases, probably as like a crew chief, or probably as that guy that has to the new guys coming in from
Mhm.
Texas. Probably kind of orientation of saying, "Well, here you are, assholes. You're in hell."
It's funny you should say that. I started playing a game here a second ago. Well, I'm playing Call of Duty, so
Which
and then
one?
just first one I just got to walking up to Price. The hell kind of name is Soap? That's me. That's me. I'd be sitting there, sitting there on on the top of like I'd probably be doing something on an LAV or something, and be like, so where y'all from? All right, here's how we do this here, and just like start laying the law of the land. I'd be, in that type of situation, I'd be, through taking anybody's shit, and just be like, okay, get out of my way, I got shit to do.
That would tell. Okay, me, I actually did this once. On the field. This was probably
Yep.
about a year ago. They stuck me with the new kid, and he starts asking me questions, and I'm like, listen. Basically, here's the gist. We're fighting some crazy religious assholes because their God says it's okay to. We're fighting them with the best that Texas can give us, and they're fighting whoever the hell they can scrounge up. When the choppers go by, keep your head down. Wait for the booms to go bye-bye. And then, if they are still dead, we call in more bombs. If they aren't still dead then we go in and we kill them. Any more questions? No? Good. Let's go kill some shit.
Sounds about right.
Oh my! Just the idea of the guys behind the front, like away from the front lines, with the new, like, oh my god! See, one of those comm guys has been there for the longest time, and then of course that jittering new guy, it'd be like the building shaking, like, oh god, what was that? That's just a bomber going on a bombing run.
It's like, looking up, not still drinking his coffee. It's like cluster bombs. Kind of close. Like, all the newbies like just standing there in shock. It's like, this guy's not phased. That happens. Yep.
Yeah, just be like, hey, I've been here for the longest damn time. You want to shit? You should have seen it at the start of this damn war.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like, this shit don't impress me none.
Oh my god. Then of course, low fighter jets kind of going by, just looking at a watch, going like, oh, 5 o'clock bombing run. Oh my god.
So I like the line that gave Bryce. Had a Muppet like you pass selection.
Oh, good lord. But yeah, I will admit, there is a lot of cool stuff that, there's a lot of things that do go on in the front lines. Like, basically, when it comes to, if it was to the Texas forces, they'd be sitting there probably playing some cards or listening to music, probably trying to chill out. And as for, because this is going to go into the next question, I got a question here asking about the Mississippi River. There is a key difference between ground forces and those stationed on a boat. And yes, the PT boats would probably be reinstated, or some form of a patrol boat, to go up and down the Mississippi River in the controlled areas. So, yeah. As for those stationed on a boat, they'd probably just try and not get blown out of the water.
Definitely.
Oh, yes. Let's see here. We will answer 3 more questions, because I want to go with thrice. Try and find some good questions here to answer, and then we'll cut off the stream here. The Facebook stream will be going up on the YouTube channel as probably today or tomorrow. Who knows? So here this one's a good one actually. Let's see. What will be the rules of engagement for the Texan forces or forces in general? Well, we can't say the religious monarchy because let's face it, they started this shit. So they got no rules of engagement.
The rules of engagement would be, don't fire unless fired upon. Civilians are not to be harmed.
Yeah, that would definitely that would definitely be something. There'd probably be basic rules of engagement, but now when it comes to the because he did say forces in general, but why don't we go ahead and break that down? For colonial America, I think they'd probably try and play by the book. For Texas, on the other hand, because I know Texas has a long history of conflict. Because let's face it, you fought the Indians, you fought the Mexicans, or my bad, you fought the Spanish in the Spanish American War, the Mexican War.
Sorry.
Just
man.
But yeah, Texas probably has.
Technically, we fought the Colombians who paid the Mexicans to. But anyway, drug war stuff.
Yeah, so when it comes to Texas, I think your rules of engagement are a lot different than the rest of us. So
it'd probably be if anyone surrenders, take them in. If they don't act like they're going to surrender, take them out.
Yeah, that that is sad to say, but in reality, Texas is probably the most, and I am saying this out of a historical point of view, it's probably the most veteran state when it comes to conflict.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you guys have seen a lot, you've seen it all, and you know how to
And
roll with the punches.
the most recent, because you've had, as far as states that have seen combat, aside from Hawaii and pretty much Hawaii and a few, maybe a couple of near misses or something in Alaska, you know, but yeah, Texas has actually you know fought for its existence a couple of times and had to fend off people that wanted it back. Uh, Everywhere else in the U.S., yeah, you had the Revolutionary War, you had the Civil War, and early conflicts in America's history. But since then, they've been basically quiet, except for events like 9/11 and terrorist attacks and active shooter incidents, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas we've been, we're right here on the border. It's there's still there's still kind of a little bit of contention as to part where who controls what along the border. There are people that were cut off from when they started Bush started building the wall. They got cut off from their front door because the gate to their property is on one side of the Rio Grande and their home's on the other.
Wow.
Yeah, like they're U.S. citizens, but they live on the other side of the river, and the wall intersects their driveway. It's like, wait a second, I need to get home, and you're putting up a wall that keeps me from doing so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you have you have the constant the drug trafficking and just the flow of illegal immigrants across the border. It, you know, uh, customs and also all that stuff. It's just people smuggling things over the Gulf, through up into the Houston shipping channel and all that. It's been a constant struggle. We could, it's something that we could, you could definitely say we've had to put up with.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Now this one comes as a really good question because you were actually talking about this. You even said you had a couple book ideas from this. Uh, so here's a question: what were the relationships between Texas and Mexico uh, uh, after and then before Y2K, after Y2K, after the formation of the Republic, and then and now with the war? What is the relationship like? So we got to go with before. So we'll probably say what, like 1998 probably is the best we can go with.
Yeah, 98 for the most part. It's stable and friendly. There were trade acts enacted in the 90s that were kind of meant to make the process of flow of goods and and back and forth traffic across the border somewhat less, supposed to basically make commerce easier, but it kind of backfired in a couple of ways, making illegal commerce a little bit easier as well. But and we, for the most part, aside from a handful of incidents with cartels and stuff like that, it was for the most part fairly peaceful. I'd say at the onset of Y2K, see a little bit of an increase large increase of refugees from ravaged Mexico, because that's a Mexico isn't
That
technologically,
friendly
yeah,
during the 90s.
yeah, yeah. They were having several cartel conflicts and things like that, and whatnot, and with the onset of Y2K, the government's infrastructure, starts immediately breaks down, and an impoverished nation, it starts tearing itself apart, and some people just decide we need to get out of here.
So it'd be like another revolution, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would probably be the best way to say it. It'd probably be another revolution where the cartels go into power and other factions within that area would probably try to seize power. And now comes to post Y2K, like with this new this new cartel government, what have you, coming in. How would that definitely be like?
Well, peaceful chalks have broken down. Let's just say that there's, we don't respect, drug traffickers and people that are come across our borders with automatic weapons just to sell dope and poison on our streets. So we're cracking down on that, and it's aside from and you have groups of cartels trying to operate uh, traffic across the border, and then you have government factions either trying to seize the border for their own reasons or to secure trade routes for the drugs, depending on the factions, and you've got one solid front. I, I would honestly advocate seizing or annexing a buffer zone on the other side of the border, just just to have basically the southern front extended.
Yes, most definitely. And then, of course, comes the big one, which I think a lot of people like to think about because even then, in a war situation where it's like right near them,
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, it definitely does raise a good question because it's like, okay, here is this new, here is the rebirth of basically Mexico, where it has its nobles, its dons, and all this other stuff. Now comes the question of since weapons are being bought from them, like what kind of tension would be between the Republic of Texas and this combination of Hispanic provinces and states that are supplying weapons to the enemy.
You know, any would have always had issues, with weapons trafficking before this, and to have the situation now, they're smuggling weapons to the people we're trying to fight, and it's like, no, we we stopped it before, we'll stop it again. So in one retrospect, it'd probably be arming our local militias and our maybe our resistance cells, because they have a ready source of materials and weapons trying to come through, and then have basically uh, basically rallied together to try and stop it. So you
Now
have
there's the military part of it. Now what about the political part? Because obviously, there's obviously some because and I gotta thank Jacob for this one because he actually told me what would happen. I don't know if you may have caught into it thinking about this alternative history, but this one I actually did kind of like him for. There would obviously be kind of trading between Texas and this new Mexican state, where It would obviously be agriculture, exchange, maybe some oil, things like that.
Mhm.
Some fish, even, because, there's the Gulf of Mexico. It'd be like,
Yeah,
be some kind of nice little
you
trade
know,
right there for
because
ports.
well, be there'd be some trading in the along the coastline. I'm not sure. This is a good issue. I'm not really sure like what Texas's fishing industries are like. I don't know because every time I know there's I have family down at the Gulf and at Corpus. I I know there's a big presence of fishing vessels down there. Most of them are smaller, like privately owned vessels, or pleasure cruises, that kind of stuff. I don't know as far as the industry side of it, how big it is, but far enough out in the Gulf is international waters, and it's a lot of open territory. So you'd basically have free open territory for legitimate industries like oil platforms out there, fishing boats, illegitimate industries like your traffickers and your smugglers, and and then you have your clandestine, resistance members or factions like cartel members seizing oil rigs or resistance members taking them back
Hmm.
or intercepting shipments, things like that.
Yeah, that would definitely be kind of cool. That would definitely be interesting. I mean, to actually think about, because and one of my friends messaged me, actually. He's watching the stream now. Uh, Ash actually says, I would see Texas probably putting a type of embargo or sanctions on Mexico to kind of try and pressure them into stop supplying weapons to the religious monarchy. I mean, do you,
Definitely,
huh?
it would definitely do that. But it would also rack up political tension and you know
Oh yeah,
you
and
know
definitely
and,
probably kind of set the embers for possible conflict
mhm,
between Texas and Mexico. Because if you put a trade embargo or even restrictions on that kind of thing where you're the only people they're trading with, I mean, one of two things could happen. One, they could cave in and kind of say, okay, we'll stop supplying weapons, or two, they'd probably go to war with you.
yeah.
But Texas being Texas, and the fact that Mexico, long time ago, tried taking Texas again, or tried taking Texas once, and you kick their asses back to Mexico, I don't think they do it again.
And they definitely wouldn't. Honestly, now it's and I don't know if I don't see it happening the war, but it's always possible. A faction stepping up and trying to like lay siege to some border towns, something like that. Uh, maybe having, well, like I said, we were saying, like I can see Mexico's government being very fractured, and someone maybe some part of the government not as corrupt, that isn't as corrupt as the rest, trying to gain a foothold, a legal, a ties remain allies with the North, and then the cartel backed, highly corrupt uh, government members being being more, more uh, more anxious to secure their trade routes for their product and get get weapons through to the other side, and, kind of make and headways in their trafficking, so they can get money in their pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
basically it would end up there'd be like more than one Mexico, and basically that would you'd end up having to deal with. You'd have maybe even
Mm.
maybe even more along the lines, not Mexico as a whole, but like different
Provinces,
like,
basically.
yeah, the different provinces. Because see,
Yeah, because the way my friend described the way everything south of the border will be affected after Y2K would be it would be kind of split up between the different cartels, and the cartels would go away from being a crime family to more or less like what Spain had when it was an empire, kind of like a royal, like a nobility structure, basically. Like those who have a lot of money are basically the ones in power.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can definitely agree with you. I would definitely see an internal power struggle going on between the families, and at the same
I could
time
see
there'd be, that single
somewhat like
political.
somewhat like here stateside, where you have New York and Chicago with the
Yeah.
mafia families.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think. Was that question number 2 or question number 1? Because we actually went pretty deep into that one. No, it was
Yeah.
question number 2. My bad. Okay, so final question. We'll be ending the stream real soon. And this one,
Uh,
I think, is a good one. It definitely is one that me and Brandon will definitely have fun picking apart because it's definitely going to be fun. Here we go. So as the war has went on, my question to you is this: have there been any VIPs, or how would a military structure with a religious monarchy be, and or has there ever been any successful victories for Texas? So to kind of speed along with that one, there was of course the Battle for Texas, which was the initial attack, obviously, which sparked the war. That was won in Texas's favor, so 1 for Texas. Then came the invasion of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, which were initially successful until they were stopped at key points. On the southern front in Mississippi, Texas forces were stopped 100 miles inland. For Alabama, they were stopped 300 miles inland, and then in Tennessee, on the west, we were stopped about 150 miles inland, and on the east, about 20 miles inland, they were stopped. So there's that. So I mean, should we count that as a victory for Texas, or should we kind of say that's a work in progress?
I'd say, yeah, work in progress. It's not, that's the front lines. It's not, we haven't we've gained the ground, but we're still fighting to hold on to it. So
yeah, which in that time period, the ground has been gained, the ground has been moved. So as for victories, there have been small victories, small battles that are very memorable. The battle for Selmer, which lasted 3 days. That was a long one. The battle for Mobile, or not Mobile, good lord, blah, blah, blah. The battle for the Mississippi, that was a long, bloody conflict. That was a victory for Texas.
I think Mobile, Alabama is on the river, so.
Well, yeah, yeah, okay,
be.
yeah. And then, of course, there are the beach landings and all that good jazz, so yeah. The mighty Mississippi is kind of like that staging ground for the Texas forces. Now, as for how it is exactly, the military forces for the religious monarchy, you have the basic ground troops, which, from what I was told, you have the basic conscripts or the basic paladins, what have you, just basic grunts. And then you have the officers, which can either be seen as and I hate the terminology I have to try and say, either a primarch, I believe, is what they're called. I'm not sure. You have a guard captain, and then you have a primarch, which I'm just going to go ahead and use regular military terminology because I'm not going to do that. You basically got the grunts, you have the captain, and then you have the main guy, the governor, or the governor, or what have you. Yeah, basically, of that sector, of that area, basically. A patch of land, which can be anywhere from 800 miles around to literally a whole town or city, could be under the control of one guy, who is not seen as a mayor, but is seen as the kind of a proxy governor of that area. So, yeah, we'll just call them proxies. During the total campaign, Texas has racked up more than 80 proxy captures. And as for kills, my friend who's my sniper buddy, who's my airsoft sniper buddy, which I told him, hey, you're basically with the Rangers. Just tell me how many kills you get. He lost count after 127. Yeah, I'm like, okay. we'll just say you got over 200. We'll go with that, okay?
I can see it. Because you have, and you're not just talking, HVTs. You're talking, total. So,
Yeah,
anything, any scout missions where you had to take someone out to in order to evade successfully. Any kill missions or targets of opportunity where you did take out an HVT. You've got any support missions where you're just up on the roof, maintaining overwatch for somebody on a, clearing house to house, that kind of action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's doable.
Now, as for the main bad guys, basically, as for what Texas is going after, the main leadership of the monarchy is basically and I'm so happy to say this, is the Cardinals themselves. Now, I know what you're about to say. You're about to say, wait a minute, don't you mean the Pope? No. And I am so happy I did research on this beforehand, before even creating this faction. So a cardinal is basically that dude. He is the governor. He is the lawmaker. He's the judge, jury, executioner. He is the final say. Now, if you get a set of cardinals, there's your government right there for a religious-based society. Mm-hmm. And you have three of the three main cardinals, which are the three HVTs in which are on Texas's shit list, basically. These are the guys Texas ground troops are basically told, hey, here are the guys, bring them in alive. They need to face trial. Which that is a big thing. That's a big difference between Texans and a lot of other people. You guys are really heavy on, try and at least bring them in alive to face trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't do the whole BS of, okay, kill them. And then be like, we won.
Yeah, it's more like, I think like the military uses like capture or kill, basically, if it, go in and secure somebody, apprehend them to bring them in for, questioning, get any intelligence out of them, find out, basically stop their organization, kill it, chop off the head. Well, if you can't successfully do that, cut your losses, put a bullet in them, exfil quickly, and get the hell out.
Mm-hmm. Now, there were originally 4 cardinals. However, when Fort Knox fell, the cardinal fell with it because that was his main base of operation. So now there are 3 cardinals left. 1 in Tennessee, 1 in Mississippi, 1 in Alabama. And all 3 of them are going to Texas.